So 8.4, not 8. Quiz 4 deals with 6.1 through 6.4. Your exam 4 also deals with this. So this review for your quiz is also, you could take a review for your exam that we're going to take when we come back from Thanksgiving, right? And then I'm going to give you a schedule of what our next days look like, just so you have an idea. So for this one, we're going to start off with, it's going to be a word problem. So we have to write down, of course, right? A burger has 504 calories and 120 grams of carbs. An order of fries has 210 calories and 75 grams of carbs. How many of each would be required to obtain 1,932 calories and 510 grams of carbs? Question mark. So your quiz, it may say there's 10 questions, but I omitted 2, so there's only 8. Please keep in mind you're going to probably have to use Gaussian elimination for a few. So my recommendation is it gives you an hour and a half. It is enough time if you know how to do Gaussian elimination. After spending so many days on it, you should know how to do it. Remember, when you take a quiz, make sure you allow yourself an hour and a half. Like, don't get started and then finish it, because then it's going to lock you out and stuff like that. So the first problem you have has to do with a word problem, but on your problem is spaghetti and broccoli. So you have a burger here and an order of fries. They give you the calories and the carbs for each one. They want to know how many of each do I have to eat in order to have 1932 calories and 510 grams of carbs. So my question is, how do you set this up? Because this to me is the hardest thing. You setting up the correct equations, because once you have them, some of you already know how to go. But what are the 2 equations that are going to give me the right answer?
First, you got to put what's your X and then what's your
Y. Who's your X and who's your Y?
So burger is X and fries is Y.
Okay, so good. We know X is burgers and Y is fries. Perfect. So burger, fries. So keeping that in mind.
So 504 calories, 210 calories added to the.
But what about, you're trying to find out what X and Y are. So it's not X plus Y, but it's, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? So those 3 talk about calories. Calories of a burger, which is X. Calories of a fries, an order of fries. So that's Y should equal to that one. So then we have 504 X plus 210 Y equals. There's our first equation. So you have to look for things like that they have in common. Then the other one is 120 grams of carbs, 75 grams of carbs, and the total is 510. So 120x plus 75y equals to 510. Now we have learned how to solve these in 4 different ways: graphing, substitution, elimination, and Gaussian elimination. Now, my thing here is this a good problem to do by graphing?
No.
The answer is no, because those numbers are huge. And you cannot fit them in a graph, and you can't graph them by hand. Would it be something you would want to solve by substitution? You could, it's possible, and it's possible to either do it either of the 4 ways. My thing is, if you do substitution, my smallest number here is this one. If I divide this by 75, is it going to give me a whole number? No. And you're going to end up with fractions, and are you guys happy with fractions? No. So then the third way we learned was by elimination. Elimination meant you have the same variable, same number, but different signs. Can I make these two or these two the same number, same variable, but different signs? The answer is yes. It's a big number, I understand. And what's the common factor here? Maybe you can't think of it, but I can multiply the top by 75 and the bottom by 210, and it's going to give me my same number here. Or I could multiply the top by 120 and the bottom by 504, and they're going to get the same number here. But of course, I would prefer that you work with the ones that are smaller. So if I multiply the top by, what again?
75.
75, and the bottom one by 210. Now, of course, one of them would have to be a negative. So which one do you want to do negative? The 210? Okay, that's fine. Because of this 75. So how can I make an 8 and a 4 the same number? Multiply them times each other. How do I make 210 and 75 the same number? Multiply them times each other. One of them is by a negative, so we could be able to eliminate. Now, what is 75 times 504?
37,800.
What is 75 times 210?
15,750.
15,750 y equals, what is 75 times 1932?
144.
144. Very good. Now we multiply the entire bottom equation by negative 210, which is a negative
25, 200.
200x minus 750, and then negative 107, 100. Now here we have, what do we have? Did these cancel? Perfect. What is 37,800 minus the other one equal?
12,600.
Beautiful. And then 12,600. And then you also multiply who? Subtract.
37,800.
37,800. So when we subtracted, this was 12,600x equals to 37,800. We divide by 12,600, 12,600, and we find out x is 3. So that means how many burgers do I need to take? 3. 3 burgers, and the question is still how many fries. So where do I plug this 3?
The top equation.
Into one of your top equations. Which one do you want to use? Bottom one, because the numbers are smaller? That's fine. If we use the top, do I still get the same answer?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to do 120 times 3 plus 75. Y equals to 510. That is 360 plus 75. Y equals to 510. Anything for a cold drink. Just kidding. Minus 360. 75y equals to
150.
150. Divide both sides by a 75, and I get that y is 2. So 3 burgers and 2 orders of fries, right? Well, I didn't say one person was going to eat it all.
So you could have done Gaussian.
You could have done Gaussian elimination. Yes. You could have done that. Multiply the top by 1 over 504 to make it a 1. And then you this over 504, this over 504. But yes, you could have done it that way also. So are we okay with that? So question number 1, or one question, is like this. You will have another question where they say, hey, A is 6, 5, 6, 7. B is negative 3, 1, 5, and negative 5. Can you please find 3A plus 2B? So this is 6.4 here. This was like 6.2 where you have word problems. This is 6.4 where we have scalar multiplication and addition. So in scalar multiplication, what do we have to do? 3 times everyone in your A. So this is A. Multiply everything inside by a 3. So this becomes 18, 15, 18, and 21. Perfect. Then for the B, I have to multiply everything by 2. So what do I have here?
Negative 6, 2, 10, negative 10.
Very good. But it has to do what for them? Add them. Now remember, in addition, they have to be the same size. Are they the same size? This is a 2 by 2, 2 by 2. So addition is an easy one. 18 plus negative 6.
12.
No.
I do 18 minus
15 plus 2. 18 plus 10. And 21 plus a negative 10. So my answer would be 12, 17, 28, and 11. Do you remember how to do this from 6.4? Was this something we covered? Yes. Right? Alrighty. So what's next? What do we learn after that?
Subtraction.
Well, the subtraction is okay. Multiplication. That's the next one we're gonna do. For 3, if A is 3, negative 6, negative 2, and 6. And B is 6, negative 2, 9, and 5. But they want you to do BA. BA, not AB, but BA.
What are you doing, different numbers?
Is it different numbers? I mean, your answer is going to be different. If you do AB or BA, they're going to be different. The thing is, can you do it?
Yeah.
Of course.
Both are 2 by 2.
Okay, they're very good. They're 2 by 2. This is a 2 by 2, and this is a 2 by 2, so my two middle numbers are still 2. But make sure you're using the rows from which matrix?
B question.
Make sure you're using the rows from this one and the columns from this one. Because if you don't do that, then guess what? Your answer is going to be wrong. So sometimes, because of the way that we learned it, it would help that you rewrite B and then A, so you won't make the mistake. So I would recommend that you rewrite it, but you don't have to. So B is 6, -2, 9, and 5. And A is 3, -6, -2, and 6. Now, when we learned this, we did row by column. That means we take your row times your column. And if you know what you're doing, by all means, do it on your own. You could look up here and check it later. I'm just going to make sure and I teach it for my people who are going to see this video and my people who are not here before. So if you know what you're doing, run with it. So here, rows by columns. When you do the row by column, you have to do this times this plus this times this. So I have 6 times 3 plus -2 times the -2. When you move to the bottom row, then I have to use the bottom row. This row times this column. 9 times 3 plus 5 times -2. So BAM plus this. BAM means multiplication plus the multiplication of that. And then when you do the second column here, then I have to use the second column. But again, you have to use the first row first. So I have 6 times -6 plus -2 times the +6. And then you use the bottom row. 9 times -6 plus 5 times a +6. Eighteen plus 4 is 22. -36 minus 12, -48. 27 minus 10, -54 plus 30, -24. So that is 6-1, 6-2, 6-4 covered on that first page of your review. Next problem. Any questions on these three right now?
No.
1 second. And I am recording it and I'll send you whatever you missed at the beginning. Or if somebody wants to see it again, because you're going to miss me during the break. Watch the video. Don't listen. Don't cry for me, Argentina. So the next thing that we're going to do on problem 4 and 5 is Gaussian elimination. Okay? So on your test, you have one with a solution, one with no solution, one with infinitely many solutions. So how are you going to do each one? Well, first of all, let's write this down. So this is the system that we're gonna get. Let me double check that I wrote it down correctly. The review that I'm gonna give you for you guys to work on during your break is gonna be just a 10-question review. That's it. Now, I'm not saying it should be completely done by the time you come on Monday, after the break. When you come into class, I'm just gonna go through it. This is the answer, this is the answer, this is the answer. If there is a question because you didn't do it, then we'll go over it. And then I'm probably gonna have another 10-question review that we could do together in class before you take that test on Wednesday. Okay, so when I write this matrix, I have a 3, 1, negative 1, 1, negative 2, 3, negative 4, 2, 3, negative 5, and 1. So when I look at this, I should see that I could be able to do switch the first and second, right? So we are going to interchange. Do you have to tell me? Well, I'm hoping I could notice it. Okay, what was your question? Sorry. Do you have to? That would be nice. That would be nice if you did. What happened?
We're interchanging because the one on row 2 needs to be on top.
Because it's already a 1, so if I put it on top, I already have the 1.
What's the, can you write the goal? I know it's in our notes.
The goal is 1, 0, 0, number 1, 0. So your goal is a diagonal of 1s with zeros below.
Oh, that's the way it is.
Well, if it had another row, then it would be differently. Because then you would have another 0 here, 0, 0, and then the 1. Like it's going to be still a diagonal. Yes.
I was about to ask what's the easy way to remember the goal.
Yes, diagonal, 1 below. So I'm going to interchange this. Double check that you rewrite everything correctly, because that's sometimes what makes a mistake. Now, right now, I need to, 1, it's done, but I need to make this guy into a 0. Reminder, when you are working with the first column, on the first column, which row has the 1? Row 1. So row 1 times the opposite of the number you're trying to make a 0, plus the row where you're trying to make the 0, gives you the new row 2. So I have negative 3 times my row 1, which is a 1, plus a 3. Then we have negative 3 times negative 2 plus 1. Negative 3 times this 3 plus the negative 1. Negative 3 times the negative 4 plus the 0. So we need to be careful with those numbers. The first row stayed unchanged. The middle one's going to become a 0, 7, negative 10, and 12. And correct me if I'm wrong. So is that what everybody got for the first one? Just double checking? Perfect. Now we're trying to make this 2 into a 0. So once again, your row 1 times the opposite of this plus this row. Row 1 times the opposite of 2, which is a negative 2, plus row 3. And I'm thinking maybe some of you already finished the problem, which is great. Just make sure that I'm doing mine correctly. and that you did yours correctly also. First two lanes stayed unchanged. Zero, -4 plus 1. Wait, did I miss? This is a -4. Sorry. This is a +4. +4 plus 3 is 7. -6 and a -5 is a -11. 8 plus 1 is a 9. Is that what we got? So remember, you make your 1 and you make your zeros below. And then after that, you have to come and make your 1 right there. To make the 1, it's always the easiest because you multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 7 is a 1/7 times row 2. That is your new row 2. Very good. 1/7 times 0. 1/7 times 7. 1/7 times 10. And 1/7 times 12. And remember, not because you get fractions doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It's okay. Top stays the same. I'm writing it wrong. -2, 3, -3. Bottom one stays the same. And this becomes a 0, a 1, a -10 over 7, and a +12 over 7. So, is everyone there, or did I catch up?
I'm way behind.
Okay, well then, I'll take a break right there. Yes. I'm trying to make this a 0, correct? The opposite of that is a -7. Where is my 1 in that column? Row 2 plus row 3, because that's where you're trying to make that 0 at in row 3. And that's going to be your new row 3. So -7 times 0 plus 0. -7 times 1 plus 7. -7 times -10 over 7 plus a -11. And -7 times 12 over 7 plus 9. 1, -2, 3, and -4. So when I do this, this remains a 0. This becomes a 0. Now, -7 times a -10 becomes a +70. Divided by 7 becomes a +10. Plus a -11, a -1. And remember, if what I just said confused you, you just grab the calculator and type it in just the way you see it, and it's going to give you a -1. -7 times 12 is a -84. Divided by 7 is a -12. -12 plus 9 is a -3. Now I have my 10010. This looks almost right, except it's supposed to be a positive, right? So how do I make something a 1 multiplied by its reciprocal? The reciprocal of a 1 is still a 1 over 1. So it's just, all you have to do is multiply by a -1 by row 3. Thank you. So I'm just going to do it here because all that does is this becomes a positive 1 and this becomes a positive 3. So everything stays the same. I'm not going to show the steps to that. So please, when you are done to this point, write out your 3 equations. What does that mean? My first equation is x minus
2y
plus
3z
equals
negative 4.
-4. That's my first equation coming from the top line. My second equation is
1
minus
negative 10
z equals to 12 over 7. My last one is z equals to positive 3. So 1, 2, 3. X, Y, Z equals to your answer. Now, you're always going to go point, point. You're going to find the answer here, and then you do use those two to find this one. So I'm going to plug in a what for Z?
3.
I'm going to put this 3 over 1. Why? Because it's a fraction. This one's a fraction, and that one's a whole number, right? So I get y minus, what's 10 times 3? 30 over 7 equals to 12 over 7. Add 30 over 7 to both sides. And 30 plus 12, because remember, you could add these numbers because they have the same denominator. 42 over 7, which becomes a 6. So now I know, hey, y is 6, z is 3. Can I use them in here to figure out your x? Yes, you can. X minus 2 times 6 plus 3 times 3 equals a -4. X minus 12 plus 9 equals a -4. X minus 3 equals a -4 plus 3 plus 3. X is a -1. So my answer here is -1, 6, and 3. Now, how do you know how you could check to see if your answer is right? You plug it in here, right? 3 times -1 plus 6 minus 3, does that give me 0? -1 minus 2 times 6 plus 3 times 3, does that equal? So let me use your calculator, please. Now, time me and see how long it takes for me to check my answer. Hold on, let me see. I turn on the lamp. There, you can see a little bit better. So, somebody timing me? Sure, whatever, right? You're lying to me. There's 1, checked. -4, check. One check. It didn't take me, I don't even think, a minute to check. So I'm asking you that you check, because if you check and you know it's wrong, I'm hoping you're like, oh, I better do this problem again. I'm hoping, right? I can only hope. Not just leave it blank. Alrighty, one more problem. But any questions before we go to the last problem of your review? So you do have 2 multiplication of matrices. You do have 1 word problem. You do have 3 where you have to use Gaussian elimination. And then you have 1 where you are, remember the bagels and donuts that we did the last time? On your assignment, there was one with oatmeal cookies, chocolate chip cookies. If you already did it, that's the type of problem. The other one is going to be on your quiz. So that's why I'm not doing a problem, because they're not that difficult. It's something that you could do. You just need to read it. Correct? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there was like one next to me, but I kept reading.
Okay.
And I was always doing like a big section.
Hmm.
I was like, oh no, this is wrong.
For the one with the tables?
It was the tables and the other way column.
Okay. If you did the coffee, the energy drink one, the coffee energy drink and the soda, that one, I understand if the first one was giving you fractions and stuff like that.
So you said keep up that other double.
Yes, but get rid of the other, don't do it twice. All right, so this is the last problem we're gonna do. I want you to go ahead, run, fly with the wind, let the air take you. Believe in yourself. Does all that positive talking help? Just a little. Oh, wow. Do we need to interchange? No. Can you pass this to me? So, after you do your first operation, I'm hoping that's what you got. So, do the next one. So, if you're done with the next one, this is what it should be. Now, I know this row or this column has all the possible ones, right? But who is still the row that you're going to multiply by?
The second.
The second row to make this guy into a 0, right? It doesn't matter if the top one, because that one is just a number right now. It's just number 1, but it's not part of what we're looking for. So 1, 0, 0, 1. We have to work on making this one into a 0. How do we do that? So if you did it, I'm hoping this is what you got. Now, if you're not caught up with writing this up to right now, you'll have time after we're done, but I need for you to look at the next thing, please. Make sure this is recording. So after you do that, the entire bottom row should have been zeros. When the entire row is 0, it is infinitely many solutions. If you end up with a 0 and a number, that one is the one that it's no solution. You have one of each. You're going to have one like number 4, one like this one, and one with no solution on your quiz. And I'm thinking on your test too. Why not? You're big kids. You got this. Now, what was the next thing that we did after we stopped on the previous problem? We wrote out the equations, right? So I have x plus y plus z equals to 1. Y plus 2z equals to 3. And what is my last one going to be?
0 equals.
It's just z. So when you get all zeros, it's just z. It represents z, but there is nothing. So it's just z. That's all it is. Now remember in the previous problem I told you, you're going to use this to bounce into here, to bounce into that. So this, I need to solve. This is my z, this is my y, this is my x. So I need to solve this for y, but make sure that the only other thing that's there is just z and numbers. No x, no anything else but that. So can I solve this for y?
Subtract the 2z.
Subtract the 2z. So y equals a negative 2z plus 3. So my answer here, it is z. It is negative 2z plus 3. The only thing that I'm missing is who? My x. So I need to solve this for x. But the only two variables I could have is x and z. So that means that I need to get rid of my y. Could I get rid of my y? I could plug this in for that y. So the only thing you have is x and z. So this becomes x minus 2z plus 3 plus z plus 1. I mean, not plus 1, equals to 1. So let me say that again. And pay attention and look up here and open your ears. This is z by itself. This, when I solve, I have to solve for y. In terms of z, so it's possible because the only things that are there is y and z. I need to solve this for X in terms of Z, but this guy's not supposed to be there. So that's why I use this. Remember we say you use this to help you out. Little ball bouncing back. The Z's do not cancel out because I have a -2 plus 1. So this becomes X minus Z plus 3 equals to 1. I will subtract that 3. X minus Z equals to a -2. But what do I have to do with the Z now? Add the Z. So X equals Z minus 2. So this is Z minus 2. If you did your questions for 6.1, 6.3, you had something like this there. You know you did.
If they put -2, that's Z W.
It's not wrong.
Okay.
But always try to put the Z first.
The letters first, okay.
Mm-hmm. Question on that? No? Are we okay with it? Okay. Oh, don't worry about the dates. Right now, I'm like worried about the problem, kid. Oh, it doesn't matter. He was late. He still has 20 minutes to make. 20 minutes he was late. Alrighty. This is your review for the quiz, right? Now, your quiz 4 is due on the 27th. On the Monday, it is 6.4. This is what's due by Monday. So this is what's due, but what are we going to do? On Monday, you will get a review. On Wednesday, it is still a question mark of what's going to happen. On the Monday after Thanksgiving, we will review for exam 4 in class. On Wednesday the 4th, you will take exam 4. On Monday the 9th, you will review for final exam. And on Wednesday the 11th, you will take final exam. Unless you have previously spoken to me, then I have an answer to your question. So this is what our schedule looks like. So it is very important that you are here. I only see you 6 days, 2, 4, 6, 3 more weeks. And it's review test, review test. It is very important that you are here for these days. Very, very, very important. Now, if this review you do not bring on this day complete, I'm going to throw you into another room and I'm going to make you take the test for exam 4. Because if you don't take the time to work on a 10-question review, then that means I don't need to take my time to review with you in class. Does that make sense? So you don't do anything over the break while I'm working on reviews and exams. If I work, you work. All right.